Hey, this is Jesse, one half of the Dadsplaining team. You're about to listen to the first episode of the Dadsplaining podcast. Brandon and I recorded this episode in April of 2018. At the time, my son David was 5 months old. His son Noah was just 4 weeks old. We recorded the first 8 or 9 episodes pretty sporadically over the course of 4 months between April and August. So you might notice for the first 8, 9, 10 episodes that our kids jump around in age from week to week. Our kids are not time travelers, in case you get confused. We just had a pretty irregular recording schedule. So thanks for sticking with us. Kick back and get ready to enjoy episode 1. You're listening to Dadsplaining, a weekly chronicle of all the weirdest, messiest, grossest, and funniest parts of fatherhood, hosted by 2 first-time dads. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Brandon.
So this is episode 1, the pilot episode. Today is April 18th, 2018.
Hey, if you like what you're listening, be sure to subscribe to us wherever you find your podcast needs. Also, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Or if you'd like to go old school, drop us an email. You can find us at dadsplainingpodcast@gmail.com.
So a little bit about who we are. Hooked up with Brandon in 2011 through a job that we were both working at St. Mark's United Methodist Church downtown. And we've been friends ever since.
And yeah, Jesse and I met, and we also have a mutual relationship through our wives, which is just very convenient for us as now both first-time dads. We also have first-time wives who are friends. So we've got a great back and forth relationship on 2 sides. Jesse and I can talk and, pretend that we're great dads, and then our wives can talk and talk about how we're terrible dads.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll have a sister podcast.
Yeah, momsplaining. Yeah.
Momsplaining. My wife joked. She said that, we would do our own podcast as moms, but just sitting and rolling your eyes for an hour doesn't work very well in podcast form.
Or even better yet, they would do their own podcast, but they're actually busy taking care of our children.
And we're sitting here in Atlanta at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon.
That's right. This is our happy hour.
So most importantly, the dad part. I have a 5-month-old son, David. He was born November 2nd, 2017.
Yeah, and my son Noah was born just 4 weeks ago on March 19th. He was a full week late. Thanks for that, big guy.
Oh, yeah, and David was actually about, I want to say, 6 days early. He was supposed to be born the day after my wife's birthday and ended up coming basically the day after Halloween, which we were really glad that he was not a Halloween baby because that would have
No
just
doubt.
made, golly, that would have been a mess.
He pops out like, boo, Halloween, there you go.
Trick or treat.
Trick or treat, good question. Depends on the time of day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So today I wanted to start off by talking about, going from the very beginning, the pregnancy part of it. So the part of being a dad before you're actually a dad. It's a little weird because as a dad, you don't really feel it as much as the moms do. As soon as the mom knows she's pregnant, she is in mom mode. She becomes very protective of the baby. She is fully invested and fully into it. And the dads are too, but in a different way. Mentally, I think psychologically, it doesn't affect us the same way. We still kind of feel like the kids that we've always been.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of felt the same way, even as I still think about it. Like, do I feel like a dad? I do now because we have the kid. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
In some ways, I don't even know if I felt like a dad until, he was born, maybe, because we didn't have anything tangible going on with our bodies. I mean, of course, we win in that situation. Our wives probably would trade with us in a heartbeat. But, I was trying to think, like, what moments made it feel like I am a dad, during the pregnancy. Sometimes talking about names, I don't know if that made you feel like, okay, it's getting a little realer if I'm putting, like, a name on a person. Feels a little dad-like.
Oh, yeah.
In that regard. Sometimes I would even just get a little emotional, like, seeing other kids. I don't know if that happened for you. Like, shows or movies. Like, for some reason, if something was happening with kids, I'd be like, oh, my God, that's a child. Like, protect that child.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anytime there was a movie where a kid was in danger. I remember we tried to watch the movie Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with, I want to say it's Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
And you get about 5 minutes into the movie, and a woman gets shot and killed in a town square somewhere in Europe while she's breastfeeding.
Oh, my God.
So the baby's just sitting there, and, like, I freaked out, and I was like, honey, we have to stop this. I cannot continue watching this.
Oh my, no, I couldn't even, just hearing you talk about it, I'm like having a visceral reaction here that you can't see. Like, I'm cringing. I don't want to see that.
Exactly. And then there was another one. There was some Owen Wilson movie where he's like a business guy and he's on a trip in Asia somewhere with his family, and like the hotel gets attacked by terrorists.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like No Escape or
No Escape or No Way
like
Out.
That movie was intense.
It was, and somehow the fact that he had his kids there, there and his wife there. It was too real for me.
Funny you mentioned that because that same thing happened to us. My wife was watching that movie and like we had to stop. She was not doing well having watched it. We had to stop and we didn't try to watch it again for a couple months. And then we like rented it, went to the safety of our home, kept the lights turned up, make sure it felt a little normal for us, and we were able to get through it. But that movie.
Yeah. How did you guys find out that you were pregnant?
It was a very unexpected story for something that was so planned. We had been planning this, it feels like pretty well, because we wanted to travel a lot before we had kids. So we specifically waited a couple years and then went on one big trip to Italy last year and knew that when we came back we would try and get started with that. And so it was only 2 months into doing that we actually got pregnant. And the reason why I say it was unexpected is just because we were pretty sure we had missed the window for the month. You probably know what I'm talking about if you have any kids. So we thought we had not conceived. And then a week later, Austin, my wife, is like, I think that we're still going here. It's probably still good. And so got the pregnancy test, and there it was. And did not know what to say. Didn't believe it at all. One piece of advice for everyone: get a digital pregnancy test. Get a digital pregnancy test. Reading the pink line, trying to figure out is it there or is it not there, was really nerve-wracking.
Yeah, you got to get the digital. You guys got kind of faked out.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Absolutely. So, of course, we had to go back and do what? We had to buy another pregnancy test, take it again, and try to confirm it again. And, the second, the third time, it's like, okay, yeah, this is actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife actually surprised me with it. She did all of that, like the testing and the multiple testing behind the scenes without me knowing. This was about I'd say probably at a month into, kind of trying, kind of just like, well, I don't know if we're trying, but we're not trying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So about a month later, I don't know, she wakes me up one morning and she's like, hey, do you want to go on a walk? And I'm like, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do it. Let's go out together and
get terrified. Exercise incoming.
Exactly. Yeah, not suspecting anything. So she takes me out to the trail, and we are walking in the woods. It's early in the morning. There's no one around. And so one thing about me and my wife is that we have kind of a morbid sense of humor with each other. It goes to a kind of a dark place sometimes, but because it's, we know each other, so it's okay. So I look back and forth. I look at her, there's no one around, and I turn to her and I say, hey, I could kill you right now, and no one would find you. No one would know.
Oh, boy, the audience is gasping.
And she's like, no, you can't. And I'm like, this is where you die. And I try to push her off She goes, no, I'm pregnant. And I start laughing because I don't believe her. I think it's part of the act, part of the back
that's what you
and
say to
forth.
the murderer to stop.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, ha, yeah, right. She goes, no, seriously, I'm pregnant. And
man.
It was... I don't know. I was shocked. I was really excited because, like I said, we had come to terms with the fact that if it happens, we're kind of ready. You're never really ready, but emotionally, we're ready for it to happen. Let's jump into it. So I was really excited.
Beautiful story. I got to tell you, that's the thing that everyone idolizes about this situation, the beautiful story of, realizing you're pregnant. Not so with these two guys. I just got to say, I don't think we even had the moment. I think we just missed it.
Yeah.
Because we weren't expecting it. We thought it wasn't happening that month, and then it did happen, and then we had to freak out by, is this actually happening? And then we had to wait, go get another test, then try it again. It took several days, probably.
Yeah.
I feel like we missed, the woohoo jumping in the air, moment that you think you're going to have, but obviously it's worth it in the end.
It's like when you think that the killer dies in the horror movie, but then he comes back, except in a good way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You think the baby's not coming, but then he is coming.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, the pregnancy, the gestation period, those 9 months leading toward the baby were really interesting. I don't know, what was y'all's like? What was the pregnancy like?
People probably hate us because it was very standard, very textbook, very non-issue filled. My wife did not have morning sickness. She skipped that whole phase. So yeah, I don't know if she wasn't getting bigger, would we have been pregnant? I don't know, but it felt very calm for that part. Of course, the things that do end up happening later on, you're getting bigger and bigger, you're not expecting that, your body feels weird. But just from the straight stereotypes, it felt like we avoided some of the more displeasing ones. So what about you guys?
It was Not that.
And he hates me now. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm guessing that Ashley that she doesn't know that you guys had skipped the morning sickness phase.
Oh,
because,
really?
Just by virtue of the fact that she's still talking to Austin.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we went through it pretty hard.
Oh, boy.
And there was a very smooth period. I think they call it like the second trimester is like the golden phase,
golden period.
The golden
exactly.
period.
Yeah. First trimester is all the throwing up. Second trimester is beautiful, glorious time. Third trimester, you're ready to be over.
Exactly. Yeah. Second trimester was where, in the span of like 2 weeks, conceived the idea for the nursery, designed the nursery, bought the decals for the wall, got them delivered, took them out, stuck them on the wall, and assembled most of the furniture while I was at work. And the whole while, I'm still sort of slowly acclimating myself emotionally to the fact that I'm going to be a dad. Like, I've always felt like I'd probably make a pretty good dad. I've got some good jokes. I have, sort of a fatherly instinct. I generally like people. I generally like children. I think I'd be okay at it. And then emotionally, you start to be like, okay, I'm gonna be a dad. I don't know what that means yet, but I'll take it. And then, as you go to the classes and you start going to, the doctor's visits, and you learn all the things that she's learning, and you start reading the books that she's reading, about halfway through, I got really, really into it. I was like, okay, I'm going to read all the books. I think I got further along in the books than she did.
Oh,
and I started reading parts of it that we didn't even need, that didn't even apply to us. So I'm like, okay, so I got to finish chapter 5. And then I can move on to chapter 6, even though chapter 5 doesn't apply to us.
Right. It's got half of a chapter about what happens if your child has this, and then your child does not.
Exactly, yeah. What to expect when you're expecting. And, okay, right now I've got to say this because I don't have any other forum to say this. The book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, and other pregnancy and parenting books like it, both for dads and for moms, are helpful. Having said that, there is a tone in those books, I don't know if you agree with me, Brandon, that I find really annoying. And that is, every few sentences there's an aside or a parenthesis that is making some sort of dumb joke that is like, oh, and ha ha ha, and you'll really need this when when I don't know, some dumb pun or something like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what like, oh, and that kid's crying at 5 a.m. the 5th time, blah blah blah. But like even worse than that, like joke style. Yeah, makes it easier to skim. You just kind of gloss over those. I feel like the book could have been about half as long and twice as useful.
Exactly.
If you cut that kind of stuff out.
That was probably a publisher's note. He's like, okay, you got some good stuff here, but we want to kill some more trees and make some more pages. So can you throw in about 5,000 dumb jokes in this chapter? And I don't know, like at times it made me want to close the book and just move on to something else, because I'm like, I just want the information. Like, I can just go to Wikipedia and get most of this. I don't know. That's
true. It's like you wish you could go to like WebMD or something and just look up like what's related to the situation you're in. But if you do that, you're going to think that you have cancer no matter what it is. Yeah. So you got to avoid that, and then you don't really have another best place to go. Like we could write perhaps a more thorough but yet cut down book, but it'd be like 50 pages.
Right.
Be like a pamphlet.
Yeah.
Could we publish that? I don't know.
I don't know. But we could do better. Basically, all I'm saying is
Dadsplaining book incoming.
Yeah, exactly.
2019.
2019. Let's give ourselves a few more years.
2029.
Okay. 2029.
There we go. No, I'm totally with you. I mean, I feel similarly about it as well. And like some of the books that are more situation based, like books that help you try to understand how to help your child sleep or something like that. Great idea. It seems like it's going to be immensely valuable. And I say seems like because what they don't tell you is that, you're reading everything ahead of time, but you're not going to get to a point where you can even try to train their sleep until like 2, 3, 4 months in. Like your kid's around that time. Are you getting to a point where he has a schedule? Kind
of, sort of. I mean, he'll start to drift off around 10 o'clock. We're emerging a pattern where he'll wake up probably around 8 o'clock in the morning. He'll be full of energy until, I don't know, about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Then he'll take a nap. And on a good day, he'll take a nap for a couple of hours. And then he'll get up again. He'll be full of energy again until probably about 10 o'clock at night. And that's when he falls asleep. So yeah, he's on a schedule now, but it took a long time to get there.
Right.
And really, I mean, it kind of took me going back to work and my wife going back to work, although she works from home, so that we're, because for the first couple of weeks, you're just like, okay, we're going to sleep when we can. We're going to sleep in 2-hour blocks.
Yep.
And we're going to repeat that, 3 or 4 times. Then we're going to get up and stay up. But it changes from day to day because, like you said, the baby has no schedule because he doesn't know what a day is.
Right.
Uh,
or what, breathing is, or
exactly.
basic things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. So, when you're reading those books like 6 months before the baby's due, and then it's another 4 months before you can put it into play, like, am I going to remember everything a year from now? Probably not. So, pro tip from me to you, think about reading those books, get some ideas down, maybe pencil them in to be read after your kid's born, get you a little closer to a time when you can actually use it, maybe you can actually remember it. If you have a chance to stay at home, you're going to have a couple days or weeks to actually read, maybe, if you can stay awake long enough.
Exactly. And then, on that same note, I think the thing that a lot of dads go into when they learn that they're expecting, they start looking forward to and picturing all of the dad things that they see, on TV and the movies. I can't wait to throw a ball with my kid, or, even when he's a toddler, like teach him how to swim and have fun and do all these things and play and laugh and joke. The thing that you have to know going in is that all of that stuff doesn't happen right away.
It's going to take a while. I was just thinking about this the other day and wondering to myself, like, why didn't I think about any of this stuff up until now? I kind of going back to, the pregnancy phase, even before that, just thinking about, I've kind of always known from like a decent enough young age that I wanted to be a dad, wanted to have kids. And it's because of that, you kind of idolize those moments, like the TV dad, like playing catch with his son, something like that. And that happens when he's 5, maybe, or maybe a little younger. And we're here at, 1 month, 4 months, like we're not even close to that. But what you're not thinking about is the times when he looks up at you and smiles for the first time, even if it's gas.
Yeah.
You'll take it. It doesn't matter, because that is amazing and fantastic. And you don't think about those moments, but you have months of that you get to enjoy first. But it doesn't sound like the cool, fun dad things that you kind of get yourself geeked up about up front.
Exactly. So when we were shopping for books while we were in the pregnant phase, we go to Barnes and Noble, we start grabbing these like stacks and stacks of books, and my wife has, What to Expect When You're Expecting, all of the pregnancy stuff, and I pick up a book called, I think, How to Speak So Your Children Will Understand, or How to Talk So Your Kids Will Listen, or something like that. And my wife looks at me and goes, he's not going to actually listen to you for like 2 years. He's not going to talk in complete sentences, and none of that is useful right away. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm just thinking long term, and I have not read a single page of that book because I'm still in the phase of like, I don't need to talk so he'll listen. I need to like prevent him from actively trying to kill himself.
Right.
We're
dropping out of your arms, like a daily struggle.
Exactly. Yeah. Like we're still in that phase where like, okay, you're not dealing with a person, you're dealing with a kamikaze pilot. Like you've got to keep an eye on them 24/7. And he's at 5 months, he's at the stage where I can kind of sit him up on his own, or I can lay him down on his mat, and he can even roll over on his tummy and do that for a few minutes, and I can kind of glance at him once in a while. But you can't leave him alone. You've got to watch him 24/7 because he doesn't know self-preservation yet.
But no, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's those kinds of moments that you deal with all the way in these early days. I'm still in the phase with a not even 1 month old of like, I am literally 100% responsible for him not doing something to himself. He couldn't really hurt himself because he can't move himself or do anything himself, like sit up or anything like that. So it's totally dependent on me not to drop him, literally. Yeah. And, of course, just this last week, I already had my first scare. I don't know if this happened to you, where I almost dropped him. Does this happen to you? Freaking terrifying. Like, my wife's freaking out. She's panicking. And, like, I don't know how it happened, but they love to squirm. My guy loves to kick like nobody's business. I don't know what he's going to do with those legs of steel, but like he's going to be amazing at something foot-leg related because his leg strength is off the charts.
Yep.
And he just tried to do like a big kick out, like he's about to do like a backstroke from a pool, and he's like jumping in Michael Phelps style backwards.
He's doing that already. That's awesome.
Something like that. I don't know what it was all about, and it just happened so fast, and he falls slightly, and then I like catch him around the head, and he's fine, but like, holy cow, that was freaking me out for a long time. Does this happen to you?
Yeah. I hopefully my wife won't listen to this episode. That kind of happened going up the stairs one day.
It's such a casual thing.
Yeah.
Like, how mad can you? I mean, you can be upset about it, not mad about it. If you're listening, Ashley, we love you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm carrying him up the stairs, and he squirms a lot. He was still in that phase where he just doesn't know what he wants and what he doesn't want, so his instinct is to kind of freak out and squirm a little bit.
Right.
So, keeping an eye on him, I lose my footing on the stairs.
Yep.
And I don't fall. I don't trip, but
Sure.
it was enough of that moment where you go into a free fall. You know how you feel when, you wake up from a falling dream or something. I'll be like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
You get that sudden emotional jump, and I felt that, and I freaked out. So here's a question. Have you been pooped on yet?
Have I been pooped on? I mean, probably not to the catastrophic ways that I've feared would happen. He's had what I think we call blowouts. I assume that's a similar term that you're probably familiar with.
So is he, when he has a blowout, is he blowing out of the diaper? Is he getting on his...
Usually, yeah. I mean, it's happened a couple times where he's pooped and he doesn't have a diaper on, but it's because we're in the midst of changing him, so there's something around to catch it, usually the changing pad.
That's good.
Which then has to be changed itself.
Yeah.
So fun.
I used that term wrong one time. He pooped a lot, and I was like, oh, man, he had a blowout. My wife looked at me, she's like, that's not a blowout.
That's not a blowout.
You'll know a blowout
It
when
literally
you see it
blows out the seams of the diaper.
Exactly.
And it just kind of permeates everything around it. So
Exactly.
that has happened. It's not really gotten like all over me, though. I think I've heard you have a story almost immediately after birth.
So day 2.
Day 2.
We were still in the hospital, and this is like, I don't know, maybe my third time changing the baby. I'm not really sure. I take off his diaper. I look down at my left hand, and there's the poop on my thumb. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Colostrum, I think, is what that.
The colostrum's the milk. You're thinking of the meconium.
Muconium. I always
Meconium
say the wrong word. So I look down, and there's that muconium on my thumb. And so if you're dads and you haven't had your baby yet, muconium. It sounds like, I don't know, something that would weaken Superman.
Yeah.
And it is.
It's like a magic element.
Exactly. It's like this jet black, soft, gooey stuff that comes out of the baby in the first few days, and then it goes away, and it's replaced by like newborn poop, which is not really. It's really not as bad as the baby gets older.
Yeah, you'll actually be excited to see this kind of poop.
Exactly. But yeah, the muconium. I look down. It's on my thumb. This is the first time that like another human being's poop has touched me.
Yeah.
And I panic. I took a step away from the baby. I'm like, whoa! I got poop on me. And my wife's like, don't step away. You're still changing the baby. I'm like, why? What could... Oh, and then he starts peeing. And then there's the stream,
boy. Yep.
Somewhere over the rainbow, like streaming onto the
golden
wall.
rainbow. Yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It gets on the wall. It gets on the dresser. It gets on me.
Yep.
A nurse comes in. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, why are you yelling at me? I have poop on me. I have pee on me.
It's the hardest day of your life. Come on, people. Yeah.
Exactly. And this is unrelated, but then the nurse gets mad at us because the blinds are closed. And I don't know if you heard this after you guys had the baby, but apparently babies need to get sunlight in the daytime so they understand the difference between daytime and nighttime. And
that's going to get figured out on the first day or two? Like, I don't feel
exactly.
like that's...
And we're like, the blinds are closed because my wife's half naked breastfeeding a baby.
Yeah.
We don't want the construction workers across the street to get a free show.
I mean, why? And again, why are there always construction workers outside of hospitals? I don't know, but there always are.
Why are they always outside the women's center? That I want to know.
They're right outside the birthing rooms and the labor recovery rooms.
I don't even think there was anything scheduled for that day, any construction. I think they just kind of wandered over and put on their hard hats and were like, we're working here.
You check out the lady in room 6? Yeah. Ooh.
Today, I actually got a comment on Facebook that I want to share. A similar story from a buddy of mine named Stuart Coburn. He and I were friends in middle school, actually, so we go way, way, way back. Stuart just had his second child 2 weeks ago. Congratulations, Stuart and Mrs. Coburn. I'm going to read this to you guys. So Kara, that's his first daughter, who's I think about 2 years old now. Kara was having trouble getting all her poop out. My mom said, try to use a Q-tip with a little Vaseline. Put the Q-tip in her bum and then pull it out. I did it, and it worked really well. The poo came out like a stream. It flew over the end of the diaper and landed on me and the floor.
Oh, wow. That's a blowout of blowouts right there.
Oh yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, that's one thing that you get used to really quickly. as a dad, I've noticed. Before we had kids, I used to laugh that I was germophobic.
Mm-hmm.
And you get pooped on a few times, you get over that pretty quickly.
There's no time, really.
Exactly.
You just got to get back in there.
That's exactly what it is.
Poop.
There's no time. It's like, okay, I don't have time to panic about this. He is still actively pooping. It's like we have an active situation on the ground. I've got to get in there. I got to get over this.
Yeah,
and just
it's a crisis. We have an active pooper right now, people. I mean, so, we got to deal with this. It's critical.
Exactly. And so that's been one unexpected positive.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. But, I mean, this guy's exactly right. I mean, you worry about these things constantly, especially right out of the gate. Like, you really have to know, how often are they pooping? How often are they peeing? You need to be tracking it. You need to be keeping tabs on it. And then eventually you get really happy when they just start pooping all the time because it means nothing's wrong.
Yeah. And you haven't gotten to this stage yet, but you will get to the stage where he will go a few days without pooping, and he's supposed to.
Terrifying.
Yeah, and that
but
first,
awesome at the same time.
Exactly. At first, you're like, how long has it been since he pooped? He pooped yesterday. Okay, and then that lasts for a couple of months, and then he'll go back to pooping, and he'll poop a lot. Like we're getting, I don't know, 4 times a day. Every day or every other day is a blowout, and it's annoying, but at the same time, you're like, okay, well, at least he's doing something,
right?
Digestionally.
Right. That's all you care about. Are they expelling things from their body? It sounds crazy. It sounds like something that everyone, when they're single, would never want to be near, but like once you're in this position in life, you got this job for the rest of your life, you love it because you're just happy nothing's wrong going on with the child. I mean, that sounds fantastic. 4 diapers, 4 poops a day, or just
4 poops a day.
Yeah, I think it feels like 8 right now or something like absurd. My child is the pooping king and just the diaper king. Tell me if this is like your child, but mine, Noah will whine immediately almost if he's peed at all. He hates a diaper that he's peed in, which you would think is like the least of your concerns because the diaper kind of absorbs all of it. But if he poops, he doesn't care. He's happy to sit in his poo all day if we would let him. Only when he's peed does he actually start complaining.
Well, I'm going to be gross about this for a second, but he might like the way it feels after
a little warm.
Yeah, I mean,
he's pooped.
He doesn't
even think the pee is warm. I don't know.
The other thing I know is that diapers get heavy after a baby pees because
they do get heavy.
Everything.
It's true. Yeah,
and maybe it's the weight pushing on him that he's not comfortable about, but the pooping
next level thoughts. Wow. Yeah.
I don't know because they have no concept of what is gross and what isn't gross. They just know that this thing feels kind of good or this thing doesn't feel kind of good.
And of course, we're in the position because we have to change so many diapers that I'm like, as long as he's not sad about it, I'm not going to change that diaper. I would love to take a quick break. But the problem is that, when he pees and you have to change it, you have to change it every time, and he tends to pee most often of all of his fun bowel movements. So it feels like 12, 15 diapers a day. And then another question is, does your kid like to chain poop? I call it chain pooping, where he will poop, you'll change the diaper, then he will poop again right after the next diaper has come on.
That happens, yes. That happens.
Maybe I've coined a new term, chain pooping.
Exactly. Well, and now that's something that also eventually, and my wife learned this before I did, when you hear the poop, if it doesn't sound like a lot, give it a minute because it'll keep happening. If it sounds like a lot, go right now because if you wait, it'll overflow. But yeah, that's one thing I've learned is that if I'm holding the baby and I feel and hear him poop, and it sounds like kind of a gusher, I just got to go immediately and change him before that thing has time to break free of its
I know what you're talking about. Like when he starts to poop, you can hear it because you're holding them so close almost all the time. And I wait. I give it like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just to make sure he's done.
Yeah.
But even when you do that, he'll chain poop in my limited experience. And the best part is that he seems to love pooping while feeding. I don't know how he can have it going in and out at the same time, but my kid is a champ at it.
Wow. That's
better out than in, but how about out and in at the same time?
Wow. Why not both?
Yeah.
That's really really interesting.
Kids are a world of entertainment and the things that you never thought you wanted to know.
Exactly. So here's I just got a fresh comment on Facebook and I wanted to use it. This might be a nice heartwarming way to close out the episode. This is from my father-in-law, Perry. I asked a question on Facebook. I said, hey, this is for the dads out there. What is the most unexpected thing that happened for you as a dad when you became a dad? And he says, probably the deep love you have for your children. Everyone tells you, but until you hold your own daughter or son, you cannot fathom what they mean. Now, grandchildren, that's even more amazing. And, of course, he's a first-time grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
My in-laws are first-time grandparents. My parents are first-time grandparents, and
Yep.
I mean, they are loving it.
Over the top.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're just over the moon, so happy. Anytime we come home, it's like, anytime we talk to them, it's not so much, how are you guys? How are you doing?
I don't think I've ever been asked that in the last month.
Yeah, how's the baby? And the funny thing is, and this is probably the biggest thing, and I'm about to ask you this question.
Yeah.
The biggest change from into becoming a dad, it's like kind of the loss of self in a good way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Before the
Getting
baby,
deep. Yeah.
it's, you and your wife get married and it's about you two together,
Yeah.
but you're still kind of you. And then the baby comes and you're not really you anymore, you're dad. And
you're so-and-so's father. Yep.
And so when my mom and dad ask, how's the baby, instead of how are you, it doesn't faze me at all. I'm just like, oh man, you should have seen what he did this week.
Right. That's what you want to talk about too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like all you want to talk about. It's all you want to feel. It's all you think about coming home. And that's been the cool part for me, the big change into becoming a dad. It's like, before we had the baby, I would go to work. I would love my job because I actually really do love my job. And then I would come home, and I'd be excited to come home, of course. But it doesn't compare to how I feel now. It's like all of a sudden coming home there's my family waiting for me.
Yeah.
There's my wife and my son and my dog, and like that's like the
it's the idyllic family unit, the wife, the kid, the dog, the white picket fence. I think your fence is not white, but you have a fence.
Yes, it's the brown wooden fence that's slowly falling apart.
That no one wants. Yeah, exactly.
But still, it's there, and it has become this, I don't know, totally different thing for me. It's I can't even really put it into words how excited I am to come home at the end of every day and be part of that again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can put it into the words that we're using on this, podcast. I mean, part of the reason we wanted to do this is just because of how excited we were thinking about becoming dads. And I think we kind of had this idea several months before we were going to be dads.
Yeah.
Or something like that when we first kind of conceived this idea. And we just thought, wouldn't it be fun to talk about having kids? And absolutely it is. So this is, our outlet. Like, we want to talk about it even more than we do every single day. I love the note on the grandparent. Shout out to you, Perry. Great comments. Yeah, I'll throw a bone also to my mom. Lisa, shout out to you. Love you, Mom. Same kind of thing. First-time grandparent. This is the first grandchild on either side of my family or my wife's family. Everyone is super jazzed about it. And the great way to encapsulate this, and especially for our wonderful modern digital times, is on the text message chain with my mother. She's texting with myself and my wife, and she has renamed the name of that group to Noah's Parents. Noah being my son. We are now, to her, just Noah's parents. She wasted no time in changing it. And I'm like, Mom, this is affronting to me. Like, the loss of self. I wanted to be a guest. And now I kind of look at it and I'm like, I am Noah's parent. That's awesome. That's great. Kind of dig it a little bit, little offended, but not really. Because, same thing. I just want to talk about my kid more and more.
Yeah. And, and it's not 100%. Like, you don't throw away all the things that make you. I still have my me time during the day, where I'm riding home from work and I like to listen to my favorite music and all that stuff. But all of that is now housed within I'm a dad, and all of these things that I love about me and, the things that I'm interested in are things that I'm going to pass along to my son and make him part of that world, and then also absorb what he's into, what he gets interested in. And now I'm excited to figure out, like, what kind of music is my son going to listen to growing up? Like,
what if it's totally different from you? I mean, that could be really cool. You could learn things that you never learned before. You could be experiencing things you never experienced before.
Unless it's complete garbage, at which point I'll disown him.
Country rap. No, I'm kidding.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Hey, if you've got a funny dad story of your own, we want to hear from you. Write us at dadsplainingpodcast@gmail.com and send us your story. You might just hear it on the podcast next week. Lastly, if you like what you hear, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. That'll help us reach a wider audience and connect with more dads. Hey, Brandon, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about sleep deprivation, something you should get very familiar with very quickly. And we're going to talk about how much it feels great to get 1 hour of sleep every night, and that might be your nirvana. And, different ways that you can survive the apocalypse of no sleep.
So, until next time,
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jesse. Hey, Brandon, I got a joke for you. What is a cat's favorite sport?
Oh, I have no idea.
hairball.
Hey! Wow. Okay.
All right, thanks for listening.